Hello, good morning and welcome to a hot and sunny Marrakech in Morocco for round 4 of the FIA Formula 2 Championship for 2010. And as you join us, the cars, well, most of them at least are on the grid, but there are 2 cars in pit lane. Currently, Kelvin Snooks of the Netherlands and Poland's Natalia Kowalska are both in the pit lane. They've not made it out onto the grid for the second race of the weekend. And at the moment, both of them receiving attention. Philippe Eng will lead the field away after a scintillating qualifying session that finally saw him using all his turbo boosts in one lap to outpace Dean Stoneman, the race 1 winner. Johan Jokinen, who crashed out early in race 1, will start race 2 in 3rd place ahead of Will Bratt, who was knocked off in the first lap. And among those who also had tough time, Kazim Vasiliauskas, Jack Clark, Jolyon Palmer, who looked set for second until a bizarre engine seizure locked up the entire rear end of his car just 2 laps from the end behind the safety car. Jolyon's crankshaft apparently broke, and well, I'm not going to say almost, I think a totally unheard of situation with these Mountune built engines in the Formula 2 cars. And even in all the years of Formula Palmer Audi that I've covered, Jonathan Cannon, I can't remember engine problems ever like that being an issue at all.
No, it's very, very rare. The Mountune guys do a fantastic job, and I think they're pretty bemused by it. They looked at the data, there was no problem before the failure, so they're going to take it back to the workshop and have a thorough look at it. A
real kart racing engine seizure where the whole thing just locked solid with no warning at all, wasn't it? But I don't think he was running it lean. Now then, looking at Kazim Vasiliauskas, lines up in 5th place on the grid. The Lithuanian had a bit of a troubled time in race 1, started from the pit lane, looked set for a top 6 finish, got knocked off in the end, came back up to 10th place. Jean Todt here this weekend. Jonathan Palmer showing him around the Formula 2 paddock yesterday. He's back again. The FIA president was preceded in his visit to Marrakech by commercial director Bernie Ecclestone, who was here on Friday. But Jean Todt having a look around, and certainly the organisers here very keen on talking to both men, because they've got ambitions perhaps even to stage Formula 1 racing here. The circuit would certainly need a little bit of widening and lengthening, but the ambition is always the important thing. And so Bernie and Jean Todt, I'm sure, being very warmly received by the organisers here. Johan Jokinen, by making a bold pass to try and take 3rd place off Philippe Eng early in the race yesterday, just overcooked it and put himself into the barriers, and he was obviously livid with himself. He's got a chance of retribution here, and that's one of the joys of a 2-race weekend, I suppose.
Yeah, he's starting high up now, and he'd be pretty keen to put race 1 behind him. It was a bit of an ambitious overtaking move, so and he knows that. He's keen to correct it.
Race 1 winner Dean Stoneman lining up second, and he said, at least I'm on the cleaner side of the grid as well, so hopefully get a good start and try and get ahead of Philippe Eng, the poleman, very early on. I was talking to Dean a few minutes ago, and of course the one thing he's got no experience of, having led from lights to flag yesterday, is where to overtake. He knows how to defend because he had Jolyon Palmer behind him almost all race, but he's got no idea where you can overtake because he had nobody to overtake. So for him it's going to be almost a first race situation here against Philippe Eng.
Yeah, I mean, there are on the street circuit like Morocco here, he's going to have to be a little bit careful going offline. We saw that yesterday was a real key point of racing here, so he's going to have to be quite careful and find out the spots.
Kelvin Snooks, plenty of support from the Dutch fans. We'll be back. Welcome back as the cars head off, led by poleman Philippe Eng, around the streets of Marrakech on the final warm-up lap before race 4 of the FIA Formula 2 Championship. 3 cars still in pit lane. This is Poland's Natalia Kowalska. Behind it you can see Jack Clark, who's had a really tough time, knocked out of race 1 in a first corner incident, and here the cockpit of Kelvin Snooks, the Dutchman. So 3 of our cars on pit road. At the moment, Natalia has gone to line up, so too has Jack. But Kelvin Snooks, well, the car is all back together, the engine compartment cover is back on, the laptop has been unplugged, but he's still looking a bit perplexed and not quite ready to join the field. Now, courtesy of yesterday's surprise second place for Philippe Eng, surprised because he thought he was going to end up in third. He is now our championship leader ahead of Jolyon Palmer, who did not finish, but Dean Stoneman with victory yesterday. Jonathan Kennard, he's moved up into joint second in the championship. So what yesterday did was serve to give Eng the lead, but it's actually tightened up the lead battle a little bit more.
It has. Jolyon had a big lead before this weekend, and obviously the engine failure yesterday has really tightened it up, and Dean winning as well, and the point structure really pays to win races here, and the points are testament to that.
Good result for Sergei Afanasiev as he finished up and moved up into fourth place in the points ahead of Will Bratt. Looking there at Jolyon Palmer making his way around the long turn 5. It's a real, in fact that's the only real corner here, isn't it? Everything else is either a chicane or a hairpin. That's the only one that's really a turn of any note. Yeah, and it's tricky. I drove it in free practice and it's very bumpy there, and you're trying to put the power down, and it's and then towards the end of the corner you've got a brake zone into a chicane. So it is very tricky. It is flat on new tyres. It may just be about flat on old tyres, but it is very tricky. And places like that on a circuit like this will possibly lead to overtaking opportunities if someone makes a little mistake. A nervy flat, I should think, on cold tyres on the first lap, because although the ambient temperature is high, the actual temperature of the carcass of the tyre will drop as you go out onto the grid, wait around for 10 minutes. That's why you see the drivers, well, we talked about this yesterday, weaving but also accelerating and braking hard. The braking hard bit is almost the most important bit, because the heat from the brakes is dissipated through the wheels and helps to warm the tyres, the air in the tyres, and then the tyres themselves. And you want a hot tyre at the right operating temperature to give you the grip for the first corner. Now, just to explain your role as the test driver, you are responsible for the baseline setup of the cars here, because the drivers only have a small amount of modification they can make to the base setup that the mechanics put on the car. Yeah, that's right. Every time we pitch up a race weekend, we put all the cars on the same setup, and from that point onwards it's up to the drivers and engineers to tune it as they wish. And it was my job in the free practice sessions to provide that baseline setup. Obviously Formula 2 has never been to Marrakech, never been to a street circuit before, so there were issues like the bumps and therefore setup changes on ride height was very important. So that was really my job on Friday. We were testing a few other bits and pieces out on the car as well. Your first street circuit? No, I've done a few, Macau, Po and Bucharest. So, but this does rate very highly in my book, though. It's very good. I think they've done a fantastic job. It is a cracking facility, isn't it? Well, it looks like at least two of our drivers are ready to go. Natalia Kowalska there, waving. So relax back home in Warsaw. Everybody is ready to go there, and it's not necessarily that detrimental to start from the back of the grid. Looking at the blue car on the right there of Aman Ibrahim, he started in the pit lane, ended up in 6th place yesterday at the end of the race. So, and that's despite 3 red flag, 3 safety car periods. So there is a possibility of a lot happening in this race, and as we've traditionally seen in double race weekends, things get more exciting in race 2 rather than less.